Hey guys, it's Otti again. I'm sitting in an online call with Jeremy Harry Harris from Australia. Hi, first of all.
Hi, how are you? Good to
I'm
meet
fine,
you.
fine, and you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very hot. It's 42 degrees right now here in Perth, Western Australia, but I am delighted to be on a call with you.
So this is why you sit there in a shirt and I have this one here because I'm in winter in Germany. It's the other side of the world, but it's cool to that we can talk this way nowadays easily.
Technology is wonderful. It's
Yeah.
and look, I'm wearing a shirt because I am talking to you. I thought, courtesy, your viewers do not need to see me without a shirt. Trust me.
I totally understand. Yes, yes. When you get older, you don't want to show the rest anymore.
No,
Not just.
no,
Yeah.
no, let's just leave that one where it lies.
Really, really, really. But maybe as some people or many people that watch maybe even don't know you, so maybe you can introduce yourself. Who are you exactly, and what's your music all about? What do you do?
Sure. Well, for those that are tuning in around the globe, my name is Jeremy Harry Harris, and I am a rock musician from Perth, Western Australia. I have been a professional musician for, oh my goodness, longer than I can remember, to be honest, probably about 25, 26 years. I've played in various musical bands and acts throughout my career. And about 2, 3 years ago, I decided to step out and make my first, what I define as my first real solo album. And I collaborated with a musician and a very close good friend of mine called Rainier Martinez Rodriguez, who is located in Cuba. And we went out and literally wrote an album over the pandemic because everyone was in lockdown. So yeah, I ended up making a rock album with a guy in Cuba whilst we were locked down in our various homes in our various countries. And that album is about to come out in 16th of February. It's coming out. So not too long to wait now. So that is who I am.
Yeah. It's when we record this, it's 2 weeks, a little bit more than 2 weeks, till it is released. Yes.
Yes.
So, but probably I will publish this video around the release so people get focused on it. It's
Sure.
I think it makes most sense. But before we talk about the album as it is, maybe we can even do something like going to your past. Maybe you can tell, how did you discover music when you were a child? What inspired you? What have been your first remembrances about music?
So I was really inspired to get into music from a very, very young age. I was very fortunate to be in a family of musicians, people. So mum and dad always had music in the background playing. Dad played the organ. And so did mum. And one of my sisters was exceedingly far more talented than I was. She ended up getting a scholarship to play clarinet and went on to study at the Conservatorium of Music. And for me, I wanted to play the flute, believe it or not. And I was told by the teacher at the time that I didn't have the right lips for it.
Okay.
So they said, look, that's very nice. And just go over to that man over there who's holding this piece of wood in his hand. And I was very young. I think I was about grade 3, grade 4 at the time. So I went and saw this guy sitting there with this big piece of wood in his hand, which turned out to be an acoustic guitar. And I started to learn to play acoustic guitar. That went on to obtain a music scholarship through primary and high school. And I then hit my teenage years, and everyone was learning how to play Metallica and Anthrax and Megadeth and those kind of things. And I was learning to play Prelude number 19. So not very cool. So I kind of went, you know what? This isn't really what I want to be doing in life. It certainly isn't winning me any favors in the playground. So I kind of moved into more acting and musical theatre for a while for the last few years of high school. And then I completely did something completely different. My mother convinced me that I needed a real job. So I put the instruments down, I put the acting and the musical theatre down, and I went and joined the army. Okay. And I became a medic with the military. And sorry, that was my lights flickering because it's so hot over here. They control the the electricity flow. So that was my lights flickering. Now I'm back. So I ended up joining the military, and I spent 8 years as a medic with an airborne unit. And the way I got back into music, it's actually relevant to this story. I jumped out of a plane one day on a routine exercise. We were just keeping our numbers up and our training up. And I jumped out and looked up and went, oh dear, the parachute hasn't opened properly. Oh. And yeah, I woke up 3 days later in hospital. And I was told that I had broken pretty much all the bones in my feet to my hips. I had lost the sight in my right eye. I'd suffered some nasty swelling in my brain, which I think is probably perfect for a musician, because I think you need to be a little bit crazy. And I needed to learn to walk and talk again. So I spent 2 years in rehab, not the cool rehab that all the rock stars go to, but actual proper rehab, learning to walk and talk again. And part of that was learning to use both sides of my brain, left and right again. And one of the attendants had heard that I used to play music, and that I had also taught myself drums to play as a younger child. So he decided the best therapy was to give me a set of drumsticks and learn to use left and right hands, because when you're drumming, you're using both sides of your brain. Who would have thought, hey? All these jokes about drummers, it's actually true. They use both sides of their brain at the same time. So I learned to play drums again, and teach myself how to use my left and right side of my brain at the same time. And that progressed into me falling in love with music again. And obviously my career in the military was completely over. They're not going to continue keeping a guy who is, in rehab for 2 years, who can't see out of one eye, and they're like, yeah, you're done. So they gave me a pat on the back, they stuck a medal on me and went, see you later. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? And I was very fortunate to get a little bit of money, and like a wise young man that I was at the time, instead of investing it in share portfolios and all that kind of stuff, I raced out and I bought a drum kit. And
okay,
and so I started banging around on my drum kit at home, and I got a knock on the door, and I thought, oh yeah, great, neighbor's about to tell me to shut up. And it was actually a guy up the road, and then he said, look, I've been hearing you play, and I've been hearing some of your mates come over and you guys are jamming. I'm actually having a party this weekend. Do you want to come up and play? And there was something in my head that just went, oh, I might be able to do this. And he said, oh, we'll pay you for it. And I was like, oh, you mean I can make money from doing this? I can maybe make a living. So I actually declined because we knew 3 songs and I wasn't comfortable and confident enough. But it started the seed, and at the time I was, at the time of my accident, I was 22 years old, so I was quite young at the time, and my career was gone. So I was like, let's give it a go. Let's see where this takes me. And so we formed a band, and I went out about learning how to find an agent, find gigs in my local town. And I was a drummer, and I only became a singer, backing singer, while I was drumming. And then, fast forward a few years down the track, and we had a gig coming up, and we had a rehearsal, and the singer didn't show up, and everyone's like, "Where's the singer?" And no one could get hold of him. It was just completely random. And we didn't want to cancel the gig. So the rest of the guys were like, "Hey, you can sing. You can sing. We'll do the gig. And you just sing instead. We'll find another drummer." It's not hard to find a drummer, but it's hard to find a singer at the time. And, me not wanting to give up a job, I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's do it." And I remember getting out from in front of the drum kit to stand in front of a microphone and realizing just how bloody hard it is, because you're not protected by this wall of drums and cymbals, and suddenly you're the focus. And it scared the living hell out of me, but it excited me, and I really enjoyed it. So we basically continued on, and it was probably a good thing that we decided to do that, because I found out later the reason our singer disappeared is he was actually on the run from the cops. He didn't tell anyone.
Okay.
He literally skipped the state and disappeared to another part of the country to get away from the cops, and we knew nothing about it. It was just gold. So I still don't know where he is today, to be honest with you. That was so many years ago. But what it did do was it put me in a position where I started to sing. And, we did exactly what every band does. We started playing covers. We started to try and write our own songs. And it just evolved and developed. And, you go through the inevitable band lineup changes. You go through the inevitable fights and the highs and the lows of any young band, learning our way through things. And I think that was a really good proving ground, and it certainly gave me the confidence to be able to continue. Fast forward to, I don't know, probably, maybe 15 years ago, and I got a band together that was doing some really, really cool things. We were writing some really cool music. It was a band called Stone Circle, and we were just starting to really get our straps together and really start to move forward. We got invited. We received an invitation to go and be the first Western Australian band ever to go and perform at the request of the Cuban government at a festival. So we thought, what the hell, let's do it. And me being who I am, I was like, that's not good enough. Let's organize a South American tour. We can do it, guys. Because I'm always about, trying to take it to that next step. So we thought, yeah, what the hell, let's do it. So we organized, we found an agent, and we organized a tour to South America, and we financed it all ourselves. We didn't have a record label. We didn't have a manager. We had nothing other than 4 young guys that were like, we're going to take on the world and win. So we ended up doing the tour. We ended up having an absolute blast in Cuba, and I fell in love with the country. And more to the point, I fell in love with the people. And the musicians over there are just phenomenal. And that's where I met Ray. And fast forward a couple of years. So we left, and I promised to come back, and that was in 2012. And in 2013, some things happened which prevented me from getting back. But I am really strong about my word. So if I tell you that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. That's how I was raised. So I'd made a public promise to go back to Cuba. So in 2014, I went back to the band and I said, hey guys, are we good to go back to South America this year? And the band actually said, look, you know, Harry, we love the place, but it's not financially viable. There's no funding, there's no support, and we go over to Cuba and all we're going to do is play free shows because these guys make between $5 and $10 a month. So they can't afford to pay for music, and the government over there is not going to pay us. So we have to say, no, we're not going to go. And I respected that, but it just really sat here, and I was like, I get what you're saying, but I made a promise. So how about, you know, are you guys cool if I go on my own, and I'll use some of the musicians that we met over there as the backing band, and, you know, I'll play all our band songs if you're cool with that, and, you know, I'll keep my promise. And the band was like, who's paying for it? I said, I'll pay for it. I'll do it. And they were like, yeah, sure. When are you thinking about going? I said, over winter, so it's not going to take any, you know, it's not going to take any gigs away from us. And they're like, go for it. So I went back in 2014 and I played the same festival circuit, and I funded it all myself, and I met with these musicians and they learnt all the music, and that's where I met Ray. He became my session guitarist in the band that was touring for me, and we struck up a beautiful musical collaboration relationship. And, you know, he's such a gentle soul and such a talented musician. He's one of those guys that plays every instrument, the kind that make me just green with envy. You know, you give him a bass, no problems. You give him a piano, yeah. Give him a set of drumsticks, not an issue. Give him a, you know, anything, and he can play it. And I'm just like, you're amazing. So that started something. So I ended up going back 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, and in 2019, and I was lined up to go back for 2020, and we had the tour lined up and everything was ready to go, and the pandemic hit. And my state, Western Australia, did one thing more than the actual Australian government. The Australian government kind of locked our borders down and went, you know, we're going to shut down for a while, we're going to lock down people, yada, yada. Our state decided, oh, no, that's not good enough. Because we're the most isolated city in the world, we're going to close our state border with the country and the rest of the world. So, and then within the borders, we actually had to have permits to be allowed to go out to different areas within our own state. I was like, my goodness, like how things changed. So my tour got cancelled because I was not allowed to leave the state, let alone the country. And Cuba was like, we're not accepting anyone. You know, we're an island like you, forget it. So everything got put on hold, and I was devastated. So I reached out to Ray and I said, mate, I can't come. You know, everything's cancelled. He said, look, everything's cancelled over here anyway, mate, so you wouldn't be doing anything. But hey, you know, I wanted to show you all this stuff I'd written when you got here. I'll just send it to you instead. And that planted the seed to write the album Walking With My Darkness. So there you go. That's my history. Yeah, cool. And that's where we are today.
Yeah, it's absolutely cool. And it's really cool that you told it from the beginning to the end, because normally you have to ask for every step by musicians, and you told everything. One simple question before we actually come to the album. Your musical background is rock. I see Pink Floyd at the back. What else have been your favorites?
I I was introduced to Pink Floyd as a 17-year-old cook in the Army Reserve by an old sergeant who put this on, and I was like, my God, who is this? And he was like, it's Pink Floyd. And I was like, I have to have more. And I have, that was my number one, like that was the kind of first fan. I've been actually really lucky. I have also had a background in audio production and concert production, and I actually ran my own production company for about 10 years whilst I was playing music. And one of the things that I managed to do was I was actually asked to work the Roger Waters Wall tour when he came to Perth. So I worked on the tour, and I actually have a piece of the wall from that show. And you can probably see the peak plate signed as well. So total fanboy moment. I was just like, amazing. So you know, look, I love Pink Floyd. They definitely influenced my writing style, but I'm also into a really eclectic range of music. You know, I love Alice Cooper. You know, a lot of the old classic rock stuff is obviously what I grew up with, listening to, you know, that through my parents. You know, and I still think from a showmanship point of view, Alice puts on a great rock concert. It's just theatrics and everything's overly dramatic and staged, and I love it. So you know, I love Alice Cooper. I love listening to Sisters of Mercy. My wife introduced me to Sisters of Mercy, and I was just like, how can, you know, how can like 3 or 4 guys make such a cacophony of magic? This is amazing. So yeah, I dig Sisters of Mercy. From a writing point of view, this might go against the grain to a lot of rock guys and a lot of metalhead guys, but I really, really enjoy Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20, and I love listening to the style of Matchbox 20 and the way he writes. I just think lyrically, everything tells a story. And when I write, that's what I want to do. I want people to listen to it and to take a story away from it, which I think is really important. I don't want to be that guy who writes a song for the sake of writing a song. I want it to mean something. So I really enjoy Rob and his writing style. And here's one that's going to blow your mind. I am a secret, well, not too secret now, it's out in public. I love Dolly Parton. I love listening to her live concerts. And in fact, I've actually been fortunate enough to see her play in Perth. And trust me, like, not a lot of people come to Perth because we're so isolated and it's so expensive to tour here. So when they come, you gotta get in. And I love her use of harmonies. I love the way that I love her onstage persona and the way that she tells stories and interacts with the audience. She's not just up there standing and delivering. She's bringing you in to her life. She's giving you a glimpse of what's going on and glimpses of the stories of how she wrote the songs. And it really endears her to the audience. So I try and take some of that style and give that to my audience, because I don't want to be just a guy who's playing some rock music and then is completely unobtainable and untouchable. I want to be able to, you know, to sit down and have a beer with you and have a chat and basically go, yeah, you know, let's have a chat. I'm an average Joe like everybody else. I'm just lucky to do something I really love and get paid for it, you know. So that's the blessing there. So yeah, Dolly Parton and harmonies, man. Like, if you listen to the album, you will definitely hear that there's a lot of vocal layering and harmonies within the album, because I'm just a fan of the voice, you know, not the show, but you know, the human voice. It's a remarkable tool. So yeah, I try and do that. And I certainly, it's my guilty pleasure. I sit down, I put a live Dolly Parton, video on YouTube, and I'll sit there and I'll sing my heart out to Jolene and 9 to 5. So yeah,
I think
that's my thing.
Dolly Parton is amazing, and if I'm right, I'm not totally sure, but I think there's a Jolene cover from Sisters of Mercy as well. I have something in my
I think the most notable cover of Jolene was actually from the White Stripes.
Oh, yeah. So yes.
Which again, and another cool little two-piece, remarkable what they've achieved, for a two-piece. I guess technology allows everyone to do a lot more these days than in the old days. But for me, yeah, they're the kind of music that I listen to and that I'm really getting into. I try and keep an ear out for the newer stuff coming through as well. Just there's so much music out there now. It's a very crowded space, and there's not enough time in the day to listen to everything. But I certainly will never say no when someone says, "Oh, have you heard such and such? Have a listen." To me, it's like, yeah, I'm going to try it. I'm going to listen to it, and it may not take on me, but I'm always open to having a listen to. I've got death metal and black metal all the way through to Chopin and Mozart. I think as a musician, it's part of my profession is to be open to all of those elements of music so that I can get influences and I can learn from the past and from the present and hopefully long into the future.
Yeah. And now we can come to your album, because all this you can listen on your album. It's not that you do death metal on it, but you can. It's so wide in its range, and it's so open in all its compositions. That's what I really loved about it when I listened to it now. And yeah, for example, the first song, "Falling," I think it's the Rockner.
Yes.
There was even a Nick Cave moment when you do this deep dark voice. Was this something you wanted to do, or was it?
Look, I dig Nick Cave from as an Australian artist, amazing, but also as a human being, just everything I've read about him, everything I've seen about him, just says he is a genuinely decent human being, and the fact that he writes some pretty cool stuff is that's the bonus. I've got a pretty deep voice, as you can probably tell talking with you. So my lower registry is quite strong. I think I've got a low F for all you music buffs out there. So it's quite a deep voice. It allows me to get down to that real lower range and bring out that timbre in my voice. But look, I've got to pay tribute for the music side of things. Ray, Rainier, I call him Ray because it's just easier than pronounce Rainier. Ray wrote all of the music for Walking With My Darkness, the entire album, except for The Memory Lingers. He rearranged The Memory Lingers for me. I'd actually written it. And I went to him and I said, "Mate, I really need you to put your sparkle and your amazing talents on this. Would you mind rearranging and kind of making it work more?" And he did a wonderful job on The Memory Lingers for me with regards to that. But I remember hearing the first tracks he sent me, and my eyes just went, "Oh my God, this is nothing like my first album, Kings of Time," which was kind of Kings of Time was an ode to my old band Stone Circle, and kind of closing the door and kind of wrapping that up and going, okay, well, this band is finished, and we had some songs we didn't record. I wanted to finish it and just put a bow on it and say that's the end of it. But when Ray sent me tracks for Walking in My Darkness, I was just blown away with the texture and there's just so much going on underneath, and when you separate it and when you start to listen to it, you can really feel the movement in not only the vocals, but the music gives it that real solid foundation for me to be able to do what I'm doing vocally. And I was really blessed to be able to find and work with a beautiful, beautiful human being called Anne-Marie Phoenix. She has just got a delightful, remarkable voice, and she provided a lot of the backing vocals on the tracks, and also did a couple of duets with me on the album as well. And I fell in love with her voice the moment I heard it, and I said, you have to come and work with me. And I was thrilled when she said, sure, let's do this. I like the music. So yeah, The Falling, it was a great place to start the album, in my opinion. It set the scene, and whilst I didn't write The Falling first. I actually wrote a few tracks before that. The Falling came probably about midway through writing this album over the course of about a year and a half. When we'd finished The Falling, I really felt that it was the right song to start with, and that it led beautifully into the series of songs that had already been written. And this concept album just kept evolving and kept growing. So yeah, I think it's a great track to open up with.
Yes. And the second one is, let me read it, Shout Down the Silence. I think this is a rather important track too. And it kicks off, or it starts off with some sample of Martin Luther, right?
That's right, yeah.
So I think this is has a deep message, probably. Maybe you can tell a little bit about this.
Yeah, so Shout Down the Silence, I actually wrote. That was the first collaboration I wrote with Ray for this new album. And to be honest with you, at that time, I wasn't, I didn't have a deal in place. I was an independent artist. I wasn't signed to Epictronic, my record label. And I was just doing what I wanted to do. Not to say that I'm not doing that now. I certainly am. But I was just like, I want to make some music and I want to put something out. And when he gave me the music for Shout Down, those beautiful kind of almost pipes and drums start of the song, I was like, this really feels like a march to me. It really feels like, just a massive of people, syncing up as one and moving forward together. And that drew me back to the and of course we were in lockdown, so we had the government telling us what we could and couldn't do. We were isolated from everybody. And we'd gone from one day everyone going to work and the streets being full and the shops being full, to the second, then a minute later, the government comes on every single media station outlet possible to say from 6 p.m. tonight, you will remain in your houses. Like, there is no ifs, there is no buts. We're going to police this. And the world went, my world went fucking crazy. Like, it was just insane. And hearing those drums, it just kind of really drew me to those protest marches and to those massive rallies where people would come and see Martin Luther King. Whether you believed in what he had to say or whether you agreed with it or not is irrelevant. Like, I don't buy into that side of things, and I'm not here to debate my thought process on that. It was simply, that's what led me to going, right, I need to write. And so I literally just, the opening line is, it's all about what I was seeing. Empty streets we used to own, now slick with blood and sun-bleached bone. Because that's what was happening. People were fighting each other in the streets for a roll of fucking toilet paper. We had police we had police guarding the supermarkets to allow elderly people who were infirmed and couldn't walk properly access to the stores earlier than the general public, so that they were able to get food. You know, I was going to my freezer and pulling out everything I had in my freezer to be able to send it to my elderly grandmother because she couldn't get out to get food. It was that crazy in my hometown. And so this really brought me some real anger and some real despair. So for me, Shoutdown was all about verbalizing that in a song. And then on the flip side of that, I saw the remarkable hope that sprung from that, and the amazing generosity that came from human beings that kind of realized, you know what, we're in this together. We can choose to kill each other here, or we can choose to unite and be part of something better. And that's where the beacon of hope came from. You know, and that's where you'll see in the video, you know, people holding up signs saying, shout down the silence, shout down, you know, we are the beacon of hope. Because for me, it was all about going, if we stay silent about these things happening, if we stay silent about the injustices that are going on, this shit's going to keep going on. We need to be a beacon of hope for others. We need to be united, and you know, we need to learn from the past, and we need to learn from our forefathers and the guys that stood up in these really challenging environments. So for me, that's what the song's all about in my mind. I generally don't tell people what songs are about. I want them to listen and make their own opinion, but this song has a special place, and it has a special place because I released this as an independent artist back in 2020. And it was from the music video. That music video started to get traction, and I did it all on my own, and it's won 28 International Music Video Awards, which was just mind-blowing. So it obviously resonated around the world. And from there, that's where Carlo from Epictronic got involved, and he and I started talking, and he was like, can we re-release this single on our label and see where it goes? And I was like, well, sure, you know, like, I own the rights to it, let's do it. So we put it out again under Epictronic, and you know, it got nearly 500,000 views in the, you know, over a course of, you know, a couple of months, and we kept winning music video awards around the world. And Carlo was just, you know, happy, not just because of how the song went, but he just liked the way we interacted and the way we worked together. Because I'm a no bullshit kind of guy. It's like, you ask me to do something, I'm going to say yes, or I'm going to say no. Or I'm going to say maybe. If I say maybe, it's because I need to make up my mind and I need more info. If I say yes, then, like I said earlier, I'm a man of my word. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. So Carlo really liked that attitude, and I liked his attitude. You know, no bullshit. This is what we're going to do. We're going to, you know, we're going to honor it. And he did. And so to me, that was a great starting point. And we kind of just sat on that and let it run, because obviously pandemic, you know, there wasn't a lot that anyone could do. So we kind of just rolled through 2020 off the back of a single, and I wasn't satisfied sitting in my home doing nothing. So that's when I started writing Walking with My Darkness, and I was just recording demos and getting everything together with Ray. And Carlo reached out to me again and said, have you got anything else? And I said, funny you should mention that. I think it was 2021. I said, I'm working on some stuff, but it's not ready for you. You know, it's not ready to show anyone yet. So he said, oh, well, look, you know, keep me in mind. You know, send me whatever you want. I will listen. And I thought, sure. So come 2022, we had the first demos down with vocals. and I was satisfied enough to send him two of the tracks that were fully recorded and mixed down. They weren't mastered, and he listened to both of them, and within about 10 minutes he came back and went, wow, what else have you got? We need to get these out as a single. And I said, well, I'm actually writing a concept album and it's nearly finished. Give me some time and I'll send you the lot, and then you make up your mind whether you want to release it. And true to form, you know, what a great working relationship we have. He literally just backed right off and said, do what you got to do. I'm here when you're ready. Just promise me that you'll give me first shot. And I said, mate, the way we're working, you'll get first shot. I finished the album, mixed it down, sent him the mixed but not mastered tracks, and he said, yeah, I want to offer you a deal for the album. And I thought, oh yeah, distribution deal, cool, no worries. You know, that's what any independent artist gets these days. You know, throw it out on digital and away it goes. And I remember sitting on my porch with a coffee in hand, puppy on my lap, and opening up my phone to check my emails, and there was an email from Carlo, and it changed my world and changed my life. This email was basically something I'd never expected to get at my age, and it was basically a full deal. You know, I can't go into specifics, obviously, but it was a deal that left me mouth wide open. I walked back into the house, walked into the bathroom where my wife was getting ready to go to work, and I did my best impression of a fish out of water. I literally went, and my wife, true to form, I love her so much. She stops what she's doing. She turns to me and she looks at me. She says, are you coming in or you're going out? Make up your mind, but close the door. You're letting the heat out. Didn't even care why I was like, you're letting the heat out. Get in or get out. I don't care. So I came in, closed the door, and she said, now what's going on? And I said, and I just threw the phone. I just thrust the phone in front of her. And I said, read this. And she's just like, oh my God. Wow. Well, that's different. And I said, yeah. She goes, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to go get a lawyer. And she goes, really? I'm like, yeah, I need a lawyer. This is this is real. So yeah, I picked up the phone. I rang Carlo and I said, wow, this is amazing. You know, I'm certainly very interested in joining your stable, and I'm very honored to be asked to join Epitronic. Let's tee up a meeting. And he said, great, you know, we'll tee up a chat. And I said, oh, no. I'm getting on a plane. I'm coming to Italy.
Okay.
He was like, what? I said, I don't do business with people that I meet like this. We need to sit down. We need to have dinner. We need to, you know, we've done the single and you've proved yourself, but now I need to get to know you as a person, because we're about to commit to 2 albums here, and my world's about to change. And it's new for you know, it's new for me. It's normal business for you, but that's how I operate. So I literally got on a plane, went to Italy, met his team, spent a week with him, learned who he was as a person, and went, this is a man I want to do business with, because his integrity and his reputation is what is more important to me than what the label can do for my music. And I know I'm probably going to be deep for you, so feel free to cut out whatever you want to cut out. For me, that was what was really, really important. And his team is amazing, and they have been so supportive of what I've done and what I'm doing. And, you know, I'm learning a hell of a lot, but I'm obviously also bringing a lot to their table, which they seem to be very, very happy with. So I think it's the start of a very, very long journey with them, and I'm delighted to be part of it. And I'm thrilled to be able to present them with an album that I can say, hand on my heart, I am very, very proud and believe in this album as standalone tracks, but also as a concept album. And I believe that I gave 100% of what I was able to give at that time through that really tumultuous period that the world went through between, for us, it was 2020 through to 2022. We didn't come out of lockdown until nearly the start of, I think it was about, I might be wrong here, but maybe September, October of 2022. So maybe it was even start of 23, to be honest. It was like 2 years of isolation. So, the upside, I managed to write a great album that I'm proud of and that I can look back on and go, yeah, you know what? This is an album that whether you like it, whether the guy down the road likes it, whether someone decides to pan it and have a crack at me over it, I can sit back and go, no, I gave everything that I could possibly give with this album, and I'm content and I'm happy with the outcome. And that's when you're making art for you first. It's about what's inside you, and it's about what's important for you to express. And I try and do that every time I sit down and write. I don't sit there and go, oh, I need to write a hit song right now. I need to, I need to write a number one that's going to get me on the charts and it's going to get me millions of bucks. And, that'd be lovely. But I set out to write songs that resonate. I set out to write songs that are personal to me and that somebody can grasp hold of and go, you know what, I relate to that. Yep. Right now, this song means this to me, rather than a song that's about nothing. So yeah, Walking in My Darkness and Shout Down was the start of that process, and it was the start of my journey. And it's led me to where we are now.
And it's really deep, the album, I think. So I think we have a lot of material now and lots of things people can watch.
Probably have I talk so much. I do.
That's really cool, and I like it like this. But I think for today we should come to an end because I have to write much of this down, and people want to watch this. And I'm sure we will talk again in future.
Oh, look, I'm an open book, as you can probably tell. Is there anything specifically that you wanted to ask that I didn't address or that you didn't get out? Because I can keep it short for you if that helps.
I think you have told about most of the things, like the woman who sang and stuff like this. So all these small things I would have asked, but you told about it. But maybe we can do some philosophical question for the end, because the album is called Walking with My Darkness. So what does darkness mean to you? Maybe this is cool.
So the reason I called it Walking with My Darkness is because I really embraced that acceptance that every person has a light and a dark side in them. And when I went through that lockdown period and when I went through writing this album, I really stared into my own darkness and wanted to address those false perceptions that I put upon myself, that I'm a great guy all the time and everyone loves me and, I'm awesome. And then you realize that, you know what, I can be a real shitty individual. And I can be a really nasty person at times. So for me, Walking with My Darkness is a real admission that I have two parts of me and they wrestle with each other constantly to see who's going to win. And for me, Walking with My Darkness is all about that internal struggle that everyone, I believe, has within themselves.
Yeah, cool. And I think for today, this really is good and enough. We have to meet again and talk again. So for the moment, thanks to you for the really much and deep info.
Mate, thank you for your time. I always appreciate it when journalists take time out of their day to spend with me, because I know how many other people are out there vying for your time. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
It was really cool and impressive. So thanks to you, and to the guys outside, thanks for watching. Check out Jeremy. I will link your Facebook or stuff down here. Yeah,
thank you so much. And yeah, look, thank you very much for everyone that's taken the time to watch this interview. I hope you take something away from the album, and yeah, just know I'm an average Joe, just like everybody else who's trying to make their way in life. So you know, feel free to reach out to me, because I actually answer my messages and emails.
So thank you, and bye, people. See you.
See you guys. See you rest of the world. We'll see you on tour in Europe sometime very soon. What I might do before we start then, I might just close my office door, because I've just fed my puppies and they get extremely excited after eating food. And I guarantee at some point they're going to try and jump in and invade the interview. So give me one second.
It might be cute, but...
Oh, these are two Rottweilers, and I guarantee you, if they decide to start jumping up on me, this interview is going to go really badly.
Yes.
Let me just close this up. I won't miss a sec. There we go. That's probably a bit better.
Yeah.
There we go.
Maybe my kittens can come up. My cats, they sometimes jump up and say hello and walk around, but this normally is no problem, except that sometimes they throw away my microphone, so I have to get it back.
I have a very old cat that basically I believe is descended from the Egyptians, because her whole thing is, I will lie here and I will look at you with disdain until you feed me. When you put food in my bowl, I'm going to look at you, I'm going to sniff it, and I'm going to walk away, and then I'm going to jump on the keyboard.
It's always the wrong food. I know.
Yeah. No,
wrong food. I don't want this. I want what you have. It's better.
Yeah, she's just a bitch.
Yeah. The problem with dogs is, with us, my girlfriend, for example, she loves dogs, and she was, before she met me, she didn't like cats that much. Now she turned over. She loves dogs, but she has allergics. She's allergical at dogs.
No way.
So she never can have one of her own, but when we meet dogs, it's always like, oh, I want to stroke.
Yeah. I'm really lucky like that. We have the cats, the dogs, we have chickens, we have ducks, we have fish. It's a veritable farm. So,
it's like in Australia, you have much more space, like in America, for example, than we in Germany here.
Oh, very much so. I can't imagine living in an apartment. We have a very large house with a extremely large block, even large in comparison to around the neighborhood. But we were just very, very lucky. We bought it 16 years ago on a fire sale, and as my wife likes to tell me, we bought a block of land and got a free house. And so yeah, it served me well. It's enabled me to set up a little home recording studio, to set up an office to be able to do these kind of things. So yeah, I can't complain. I've been very blessed.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, we both come from the countryside, and I grew up in a house as well. But we choose to live here in the midst of Duisburg because of the cultural stuff. We have so many events, like concerts right straight the door out, open air concerts for free and stuff. I don't know, maybe you know Doro Pesch, for example.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah. And then I walked out 50 meters and Doro Pesch played there for free, for example. That's really cool. So,
wow. Look, that just does not happen here. You know, I would love to say that we have a wonderful culture of music in Western Australia and Australia. And, you know, the powers that be would certainly like to champion it that way. But the truth is, you know, we are so far behind when it comes to music culture and support of music within Australia. It's a very challenging environment. And, you know, I love Europe because there's this you guys have been born and bred and raised on culture, so there's a respect for it. Whereas over here, you know, you try and explain to people that, you know, you're charging X amount of dollars for a ticket to come and see you perform, and they look at you as if, you know, why would I have to pay for music? Why would I have to pay to see you perform? Because it's not ingrained over here. And you know, that was one of the first things I noticed when I toured America, is like, we're on a bill, no one knew who we were, it didn't matter. They would just pay their money to go to a concert because that was the done thing. Over here, it's very different.
Can I do some, I hope it's a compliment, but when I look at you and your face, in many angles, you look like a younger Harrison Ford. Somebody told you that?
I have been told that, yes.
Especially when you smile, it's just like his Han Solo smile. It's really cool.
I'm a big Star Wars fan too. So, but no, I have been told that. And I take it as a compliment. Thank you. If I am a quarter of the measure of that man, I will take it.
I would love to talk to him as well, but I think it won't happen this life. So
yeah. Look, I would love to see Dave Gilmour play live, but I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime either, unfortunately.
Like that.
But yeah, Star Wars, love it. Favorite.
Yeah.
My first ever movie that my dad took me to was Return of the Jedi.
Oh, nice. The funny thing, my first Star Wars movie I saw was The Empire Strikes Back, because in Germany it was for age 6 to or 8 to 12 it was allowed, and the other ones have been from 12 on. And we have been children, and we watched the film and we said, okay, it starts in the middle and it ends in the middle. Well, what's happening?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So the rest of the story I got from books. I bought the books about Return of the Jedi and stuff, and said, okay, now I know what happens, and later on I could watch the movies. So
I think reading the books, like, you know, reading the books, you get a better picture of everything. Obviously, the movies are always condensed down, but I love reading. I love reading the books first and then watching the movie, because, you know, it gives you more of a picture of what's going on, and I love reading.
And when you read, you have your own fantasy and not the movie pictures. It was like I read Lord of the Rings many times when I was young, and when the films got out, I said, okay, I really have to wait a long time, not watch the movies. And last year or something, I reread the books, and still it was like having those pictures in mind from the movie. You can't
exactly. You can't put it back in. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, can you?
Yeah. But it's okay. Peter Jackson did a very good job, so it's cool.
So, funny thing, you mentioned Peter Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So the music video for Shout Down the Silence, I went to a local film maker here in Perth, and I told him this crazy idea that I wanted to do. I said, I want to do a street protest scene in the middle of lockdown, where I want to get 70 to 100 people, and I want them to march down the street with a young girl walking down the middle holding this stuffed animal, which is going to be the symbol of hope and, you know, and love and all the rest of it. And then I want to put all these police in like riot shields and riot gear behind this barrier, but I don't have the money to deck out that many extras from a police point of view, nor do I have the money to hire all the gear. So, being ex-military, I actually know all of the riot actions because I was taught all that stuff. So I was like, can we somehow get one thing done, and we'll get 2 police on outside, and then we'll green screen everything else, and it'll just be me. I'll kit myself out and I'll do all the actions, and you can green screen me, and then we can double me up and triple me up and blah, blah, blah. And he went, Yeah, we should be able to do that. So I said, great. And we lined it all up. We got everything ready to go. And the day before the shoot, I got a phone call from Peter, the guy filming it. And he said, mate, is it all right if I bring my brother-in-law to the shoot? And I said, sure, mate, whatever, that's cool. What the bastard didn't tell me, and this is the link here, he came over from Melbourne before the lockdown of Western Australia, and he got stuck in Western Australia when they shut the border and he wasn't allowed to go home. So he got stuck in Perth, but he is a special effects genius when it comes to green screening and making special effects and being able to do all that stuff, because he worked with Peter Jackson on The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, great. That's great.
And he didn't tell anybody. And then he rocks up on set. And as we're starting to film, I see this random guy start to lean over Pete's shoulder and take the camera and tell Pete to do this. And then he starts directing me. And I mean, like, I'm a pretty easygoing guy, but this is my set, and I'm my first ever music video. I've written it, I'm starring in it, and I'm directing it. And I'm like, and he's some random guy that I barely, like, just said hi to him. He's starting to tell me what to do. What's going on? So I walked over to Pete and I said, Pete, no disrespect to him, I know he's your brother-in-law and that, but like, who is this guy and what's his story? And he said, oh shit, sorry, I forgot to tell you. Yeah, he's a special effects editor. He worked on Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit for Peter Jackson, and he loves what you're doing here, and he just wants to offer his help. And I said, mate, I can't afford him. And he goes, oh no, he's doing it all for free. And I was like, I did my goldfish impression again. And he ended up doing all of the special effects unit parts of it as basically as a way of saying thank you for allowing him to be involved. So I was really blessed. And there's the link to Peter Jackson. So yeah, that I've got so much to think about that song and how much it's changed my life.